practice. I learned some of the events with Summer Pearson. She was a multiple-time world champion. Ryan Seckman still runs games, and Mike Sesmark, he's still active once in a while. Right. And then Andrew Hobson. I mean, that core group of throwers invited me to their practice and showed me what a fun time the Highland Games are. And it was just such a nice transition from the serious training full-time professional athlete, shot putter, to you can take all your skills that you've already acquired over the years and apply it to something that's super goofy, super fun, but you can still be really competitive. And it was the best route for me. So before I moved back to Ohio, I had one Highland game in Tucson. It was my first one in 2008, I think. November 2008, so it was near the end of the season for most people. It was my first one. But I've had a blast. It was really a lot of fun. And I think I did better than I thought I would. And from then on, I had the bug.
You kind of had the bug with it, yeah.
So November 2008 started.
Well, and I think a lot of people, for me, for example, I didn't do my first competition until October 2017. So we did the Indy
so you're a baby still.
What's that? Yeah, I am. Yes, I'm still. I still have the pacifier in my mouth. But yeah, we did the Indy Highland Games, and I'd always wanted to do it. And I never bit the bullet to do it. And I, in being in powerlifting and strongman, I understand the competing aspect of it, but I never really saw Highland Games as a competition. I always thought it was just a group of people getting out, wearing kilts, and throwing things. And the more I started learning, it's like, oh wow! I mean, this is actually, it's a sport.
We're pretty serious about it.
Yeah, and they're difficult. You think?
Well, I think you're getting pretty serious if you have the uprights and everything to make some height standards here.
Well, even after my first competition, I had the bug because I was like, okay, this is so much fun, and for me, I know that I'm never going to be this huge level competitor, but I like doing things that are sometimes technically challenging, and Highland throwing, a lot of that stuff with Highland is very technical.
It really is, yeah.
And, you're talking about, and for example, I weigh 242 pounds, and I picked up the 42-pound master's weight to throw it for distance, and it treated me like a rag doll. And the videos, I'm laughing because after I watched the videos, I was like, oh, wow, that thing literally made me its bitch. And so, and so I step back and I'm thinking, okay, well, strength is a requirement. It's an aspect of it, but it's not just strength. I mean, strength is, I think, a small percentage of what actually takes when it comes to launching that weight for distance,
right? Or
even up over bar.
But what I do like about the games is that there's 9 different events. So if you are a strength athlete,
there's
over
going to be
bar.
something.
You don't have to move. All you have to do is just stand up and throw it over a bar. So if you'll find some success in one event in which you're starting out. So that's when people are super frustrated. It's like, I'm just not really good at all of them. That's okay.
Right.
Get good at one thing and then go on to the next one. So I think that's one thing that I like about the games is that I know that I need to do a lot better with the standing events because I'm an athlete that needs to move. I do much better in the open stone versus the Braemar. I don't have that standing strength. I need to move my feet, and so that's why I'm better in my weights and
you're
better
at
the caver. But gosh, the hammer and the weight of a bar, if I have to stand there and throw something, it's not that good. So I probably should do a little bit more strongman training, perhaps.
Well, but even that, I see things like sandbag toss getting brought into the strongman sport a little bit more. And I see a lot of people fail at that event because, while you have to have that strength and the explosive, static strength, there's still technique involved.
Yes.
And it's not just simply just trying to muscle it up over. I mean, there's a lot of extension, triple extension, and with that's required. That at least I can say in strongman, I can throw the sandbag. But
I've thrown a fish.
Yeah.
And so a big old salmon in Alaska this past summer.
Oh, wow.
It was at a 50-pound. It was a rubber fish, but it was amazing. I think I'd made it maybe 13 feet, maybe. I'm not sure. But again, like just rise and fall. She just stood up there, former hammer thrower, shot putter thrower from Ashland, actually.
Okay.
And she just whaled that fish. No pun intended.
No pun. Yeah, I was gonna say.
Well, a whale's a mammal. Sorry, I was reaching on that one, but she just launched it, and it was just so much fun to see this huge rubber fish flying through the air. But again, she has that standing strength that I do not.
Well, and if this were an accurate fishing story, that fish would have actually been thrown over 100 feet.
Absolutely, it was
instead
amazing.
Of only 20. So, what advice would you give somebody who wants to get into Highland Games who does not have that collegiate track and field background? Because I've talked to a lot of Highland Games athletes, and that's the question I ask because I had the opportunity to work at a gym with Zach Riley for a little bit.
Nice.
And I got to ask him some questions about it, and I said, when I look at people throwing, I look at it as similar to dancing.
Mm-hmm.
Either you can dance or you can't.
Well, I'm not a very good dancer, but I can throw stuff.
Okay. So,
well, for most new people, I would say just there's so many avenues to achieve some help. I mean, of course, there's YouTube. A lot of throwers have pages that they post their videos, and maybe they explain a few things. But there's a ton of clinics around. I'm actually going to do a clinic in Jacksonville on February 16th with Carrie Overfeld.
Oh, okay,
so the two of us are going to be coaching, and if you're in the Jacksonville area or you can drive there, it's only $25. Walk-ins are welcome, so please come on down. But find some clinics. Get some group or one-on-one help from someone who's thrown before. And it sounds so bit, but invest in yourself. Invest in paying someone $40 for their time, or going ahead and getting yourself an implement, just at least one, or finding a stone.
Yeah.
Because if you're just going to show up at games like, oh, okay, teach me something, it's not really the time to do that.
Yeah.
I'd like you to have a little bit more experience than showing up. But you're going to definitely get some learning experience during the competition for sure.
Oh yeah.
But go ahead and invest in the people who know what they're talking about. I know that Spencer Tyler just did a free clinic, down in Texas last weekend.
Yeah.
But he also was able to live stream it. So people who couldn't make it to Texas could live stream it for a nominal fee. I'm not sure what it was. But, there's lots of avenues to get out there and at least get some information and see the events kind of broken down a little bit more.
Yeah.
But I have people come down to South Carolina all the time, and I say, well, let's plan on a Saturday. Give me at least 4 hours because we're going to go through a bunch of the events.
Yeah.
And I'm happy to help because I love the games.
Right. Yeah.
I love the experiences that I've had, meeting new people, getting to travel some really cool places to compete. And so, yeah, I love sharing my time if it's going to help someone else find this passion for throwing and enjoy what they do. So you'll come see me. You can come see me.
And that's awesome because that's one thing I preach even with the sport of strongman is that while it's still kind of a niche sport, it's popular enough throughout the U.S. that you can reach out to somebody who's been doing it a while and ask, hey, can you take some time with me? I don't understand my leverages when I spin. I don't understand why my release is so late or too early or too high. All those little things that, even in Detroit where we live, we have a lot of Highland Games athletes up in that area.
Super.
And I've never reached out to a single one except for a couple, so shame on me. Here I'm complaining that I'm treated like a rag doll and I've yet to. So, okay, now I see my problem.
There you go.
Yeah, see, man, you helped me so much. Thank you.
Seek out someone who knows more than you do. And you'll find out at the games that everybody knows more than you do. Yeah. Everybody's always willing to help, so just be mindful about who's offering help too.
Well, I laugh because at my first Highland Games, so you talk about getting implements, and I started making sheaths, okay, because I made those sheath
Yeah,
trophies.
those look great.
Thank you. I had a lot of fun doing it, and it was a huge learning process, but now I'm actually going to attempt to make a few bigger ones. But my first time throwing sheath, okay, in competition. I did a few practice trials up in like May, way before that. But I threw it, and it almost made it to the bar.
Okay.
But it was like...
It came off the fork. Usually that's the one thing
when new throwers... It came off the fork, yes.
And they can't get it off the fork.
Right, and by what I mean by it almost made it to the bar was that it was at least the height of the bar. Now, it was still like 8 feet away because the release was off.
Okay.
And one of the Masters competitors...
But it came off the fork!
Yeah. One of my Masters competitors looked at me and he goes, well, that didn't work. I was like, well, what did I do wrong? And he goes, well, you threw it the wrong direction for one.
That's yeah.
I was like, thanks. Yep, you're right. But so let's backtrack just a little bit. So you actually, you had a torn labrum in your hip?
I did.
A year and a half ago?
And I had one on my left one too, but it isn't bothering me as much as it was on the right. So,
okay.
I've, from throwing for so many years, training, it just was getting a little wonky in there. So it was getting tough getting out of a car. I had to stop squatting, and deadlifting was tough. And then I had to stop doing all the things I wanted to do, and it hurt to throw. So last year I made a decision to go have my hip repaired. It's just the labrum. Mm-hmm. So they say I did have the repair done, so they repaired the labrum. They shaved down the bone a bit because there's a couple bone spurs there. They sucked out all the debris and stuff that was in there, and then they tightened up the joints. So it usually takes about 8 to 10 months for recovery, but I got an invite to go to Alaska, and it's the first time they're going to have an elite women's there, and I'm like, well, it's really, really cool. That's only 6 months away. Can I do it?
Right.
So I talked to the surgeon, and I talked to my physical therapist, and I said, I'd really like to do this. Is it possible? And the surgeon's like, well, work with your physical therapist. I'm sure you could because you're already in decent shape, but just as well as you, as long as you do your rehab. And so I talked to my physical therapist, and his name is Brandon Bonney. He's super awesome out of Vertex in Colombia, but he was so wonderful just going with it, saying, okay, if we're going to do this, you have to do everything I say. And I said, okay.
Yeah.
And so I was really compliant. I did my best to, stay off of, just stay on my crutches for the 4 weeks. Mm-hmm. No driving, except a couple times I did. But I was really trying to be very mindful because I had this goal in mind that I wanted to compete in Alaska for my first game back. And so in 6 months' time, I was able to throw. I'm not going to say ready to throw, but I was able to throw.
Right.
And I think I did pretty well considering all that I was rehabbing and going through. But I'm really pleased with my surgery. Another gal at the gym, another trainer, she had the same exact surgery, same exact surgeon. She's about 10 years older than I am, so she's a little older than I am. Uh-huh. But she still has some iffy stuff, iffy days here and there. So I know that I made the right decision in having it repaired, and I'm back to squatting and deadlifting and cleaning and throwing. I'm hoping to I'm still working on getting my strength back. That's been very slow to come back, but I'm throwing, I'm doing what I love to do, so I'm happy.
So having that surgery, has it changed the way you train now as opposed to the way you did prior to? And I'm not talking months or, leading up to the surgery, because obviously pain kind of changes how we train. Yeah. But, I mean, maybe a couple years prior to?
I guess mostly in my programming, I still do about 15 to 20 minutes of mobility stuff before I have to do any lifting. Okay. And that's big difference for me. I really never did anything like that before. And who knows if I had done that 10 years earlier, 20 years earlier, if I'd be in a different boat. But I'm definitely more mindful about stretching and making sure that's, I'm still being mobile and I'm 38.
Yeah.
I'm going to be 39 soon. I'm going to be 40. So I know I'm not getting younger, and I have to take care of my body a little bit more than I used to. Because I would just, get to the gym or finish up with work and just, all right, throw the shoes on, let's start squatting. Now it's, all right, so we have to do our bend stretches and, my little tactical frogs and, that sort of stuff. And I do notice a difference that I'm moving a lot better and I guess the no pain thing helps a lot too.
Yeah.
But I'm still trying to figure out, my limits right now. And I went through about a 6-week program doing back squat, and I saw some nice gains there, but I knew at that one point, I'm like,